Recording is in progress, Lloyd.
Thank you very much, Andrew. So welcome everybody for a little bit of late start to the Indigenous Global Unity Summit. On week 107, we are here on June 22nd, 2023. We're just starting here to put together all of our show here. I'm still in Taiwan. This is about 1 month in to my second journey, second life in Asia. But before we begin today, I do want to start with a land acknowledgement. So we do begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples. We recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous peoples for their commitment to protect the land and its resources. We're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land that I am residing and visiting here in Taoyuan, Taiwan, is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Austronesian Indigenous peoples who have lived on the island for over 8,000 years. The East Formosan tribes of the Atayal peoples of central and northern Taiwan, also known as the Tayal or the Tayan, meaning human or man, and where Taoyuan City is in this modern age, contains 16 different Aboriginal groups whose population exceeds 70,000 people, making Taoyuan the most populated city for Indigenous peoples on the western part of the island. We also acknowledge that the Indigenous Culture Center of Taoyuan City, first established in May 2004, has become a gathering point for the Indigenous peoples, as well as being listed as one of Taoyuan City's story houses, and whose totem poles on Rainbow Avenue express the Indigenous spirit with beautiful lines, and where the colors at the base of each totem pole derive from the costumes of the different tribes, integrating with the unique landscapes of Taiwan to symbolize the unity of all ethnic peoples. We'd like to thank the Indigenous peoples of these lands, including the Atayal, for sharing this land with us in our role as settlers and visitors and displaced people on this land. We share the responsibility of challenging and disrupting colonial systems that enact violence upon the land and stand in solidarity with Indigenous peoples. We also acknowledge and recognize all the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. Okay, so with that, I actually am not seeing our guest speaker on the call, Ms. N2. Oh, there, yes, okay, Nane N2, I do see. She's on with us. I will go through a little bit on the early side very quickly with the regular presentation. I just want to mention again, today is Thursday, June 22nd, 2023. This is week 107 of our IGU Summit series. So again, our guest speaker today is Nane Ane Ntu from UnityNet Cameroon, also from YOCEP, YOCEP, the Youth Center for Progress in Cameroon. I will also be saving or putting some information into the chat as we move forward for people to have this information. Sorry, I'm just trying to rearrange my desktop here because I actually had the opportunity, chance to get a new second monitor for this computer that I'm using here, laptop, yesterday. So I do have a higher resolution monitor that has actually changed things such that everything on my desktop now is laid out slightly differently. But it's a good thing because this higher resolution screen monitor that I have is working better than the first one. It's required to press, turn it on several times actually to start the monitor. It was a bit old. So I wanted to mention as well, yesterday, June 21st, was also the International Day of Yoga and the summer solstice, where day and night hours are equal, which in UN parlance is called the International Day of the Celebration of the Solstice. Also in Canada, it was National Indigenous Peoples Day. So I will put a little bit of information about these events in the chat. The International Day of the Celebration of the Solstice was actually proclaimed by the UN General Assembly in 2019. So this is fairly recent. But the solstice event has been something that we can actually celebrate. As well, in India, this was Yoga Day, which is the birthplace of the practice of yoga, where the summer solstice is traditionally celebrated with these mass yoga sessions throughout the nation. And it does, again, fall on the solstice. And I wanted to mention as well, the day before that, Tuesday, June 20th, was World Refugee Day, the day organized every year on June 20th to honor and celebrate the refugees from around the world. So again, you'll find in the chat a little bit more of that information. One thing that I want to mention this week to try and make sure that everyone understands what it is we're doing, we here at UnityNet International are trying to find ways to facilitate and create pathways for investors and investment money to go into these regenerative projects and humanitarian enterprises in all of our local communities, rather than always just looking at the things we're doing in our local communities as if they were charities only, and that they can never make a quote unquote profit as looked at through the lens of holistic development and ESG investments. But we need to change our mindset on this. Instead of continuing to ask for donations to help what we're doing, we need to start marketing ourselves and our projects and even the nonprofits as community-based enterprises. There are also excellent investments to be made. So the marketing goes something like this. What we're building here is social structures. These are investments into people and will ensure economic growth can continue to take place in all of our local communities of UnityNet into the foreseeable future. We're also ensuring the health and well-being of people and planet in our own local watersheds and bioregions, because we know that by doing so, as this is an essential starting point, and we can ensure that we will get an even better local economic conditions in the future. We'll begin to create communities that will help to attract additional investments into our own local people in infrastructure and networks and watersheds and bioregions, including in places like rural Africa. The important thing to note is that we, humanity collectively, as we go through this transition, is that the great innovations never come from above. They invariably come from below, from the much derided silent folk of the land, those who are less infected with academic prejudices than great celebrities or want to be. This is actually a quotation by Emperor Julian. So the question was asked as well recently as well, what will move people as things get more broadly terrible? In answering himself, Douglas Carmichael from Garden World actually noted, I'm convinced that only larger questions in a mythic, not scientific rationalism, are capable of moving populations and the actions necessary to engage with what is emerging as a bitter battle with climate. If we read together Joseph Tainter's Collapse of Complex Societies with Toynbee's study of history, of the psychological and political collapses of many of them, we'll actually be able to engage and not leave the scene as truants, nor wax promiscuous, aligning ourselves with hope, one after the other. These are Toynbee's categories that describe many in this time. So I will, again, I'll be putting a little bit of information in the chat in reference to these two studies, one, the collapse of complex societies, the other, the study of history by Toynbee. I also will put in the chat some information about June 21st, International Day of Yoga, and some additional information about yoga and the International Day of the celebration of the solstice. Noting as well that India is the birthplace of the ancient practice of yoga. Now being celebrated around the world. So the next big event we do is our Bubble Fun Festival. This takes place on Saturday, August 12th, which is International Youth Day. So thank you for joining us again on this Thursday Zoom session. If you're watching this on social media, on Facebook, please also join our LinkedIn and WhatsApp groups. Help us to create a truly global network of educators, professionals, active citizens who are helping to accelerate this transition to a localized, responsible, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that seeks to leave no one behind. So normally this is where I like to explain who we are moving forward in my presentation. But since we do have our guest speaker on the line, what I will do is I stop my share of my regular presentation so I can start her presentation as well. Just give me 1 second to switch over presentations right now. So I will share my screen one more time. Share. Just let me know when this presentation, and we will let our guest speaker continue.
Hello everyone, good evening from Cameroon, Yaoundé.
Thank you for coming on with us.
Thank you very much. I am Nanen Tobe. I am a teacher and I'm also a writer, an editor and a literacy activist. So it's my pleasure to be here today to talk to you about schools and well-being, building sustainable futures through extracurricular activities. So this topic is very pertinent to me because of the community in which I teach, and it is important for me to understand how to build sustainable futures through extracurricular activities due to the different things that I I noticed in the community where I teach. So the first thing that I noticed is a perception or different perceptions on what school is. So we're going to move to the next slide. So before coming up with this topic, I had to ask random questions to some students on what they think about a school. And they gave me different replies, and from the replies, I noted just a few words that occurred, that came out, that were recurrent in their replies. So that is why today I asked a question: what is a school? What is a school? So many people, students and teachers alike, give different replies. And these are the perceptions they give. For some, a school is just a building with many classrooms. For others, a school is a cage where there is no freedom to think, freedom to create. It's a place where they come just to listen to the teacher teach, and later on they go home exhausted and come the next day, which becomes monotonous. For others, a school is a learning environment. Yeah, just learning. They come in the morning, they learn, do assignments, carry out teaching activities, and then they go home. And for others, it's just a place. So for these various replies give me the idea that many people do not consider school as being a place where they could belong, because by saying it's just a building, there is no life in the word building. It's fake to me. By saying it's a cage, you find the idea of being like a prisoner, of being like someone who is not free to think, who is not free to do what he wants to do. And like say, if you say it's a place, it's just like it's a place. There is no life to it. So that is why I noticed the following problems. What is the problem here? So the problem here is the disconnect that students have between their perception of what a school is and the general state of the school. Students quickly relate their minds to the physical aspects of a school, but I don't feel like they belong to the school, the school itself. They don't feel it doesn't feel like they have fun while studying, and it is like there is no life in the aspect of studying, and also the fact that they feel they cannot contribute in the process of studying. So this made me to realize the following problems. We have the problem of discomfort. Students are not comfortable in the environment they are, and also many of them have lack of enthusiasm. They don't want to learn. This explains why there is a high rate of dropout in my community, where students don't really fancy education and they want to drop out of school to start petty businesses. And finally, we have this feeling of loss. They feel lost because they don't find themselves actively participating in the learning process. And due to that, they have high rates of anxiety that brings in stress. And with the stress, there is a negative part of the emotion and lack of self-esteem. And altogether, there is a general feeling of boredom while in school. So this problem makes me to realize why students quickly drop out of school in my community, and why is there the lack of interest to study, lack of interest to take studying seriously. So with this, I thought of the following: what school should be. So I asked myself, what should a school be? So I noticed that to get students active in their learning process, to get them involved in the learning process, schools should be creative. They should be lively. They should be inviting. They should be friendly and comfortable and inspire in the students a sense of belonging. So this is what I realized that school should be. So how do I come in? How do I come in to solve this problem of lack of enthusiasm, this problem of loss, this problem of discomfort in the school premise? So what I did at my level is to create a book club. If you understand the community we live in, it is very difficult to find a school with a book club. It's true, the ministry signed decrees for us to have clubs in school, but the reality is that many of these clubs are not existing, and they're existing only on papers, but in real life, they are not existing. And many students do not get involved in club activities because of the bulk of work they have to do in class. And if a class starts at 7 a.m. in the morning and finishes at 5 p.m. in the evening, students have little time to partake in club activities. So they don't have the time to distress themselves. They don't have the time to get interacted with other classmates so that they can feel connected, so that they can build their confidence, their self-esteem, their confidence, and also get to understand the realities of their school. So when I started a book club activity, and in this book club, we had three areas of intervention. The first is a mobile library. And then the second is the literature cafes, and the third is book outreach programs. So what do we do at the level of the mobile library? In 2018, I was posted to teach at the Government Bilingual High School, Bafia, which is a community a little bit far off from the capital city of Cameroon, Yaoundé. And when I got to the school, I noticed a general lack of enthusiasm to learn and a high rate of absenteeism, and also a subsequent dropout. So this made me to understand that those who were left in classrooms, who were willing to learn, didn't have textbooks, and there was no library in the school. So teachers and students lacked books that they could use as reference in their teaching process. So in 2019, I created a book club and introduced the mobile library. What is this mobile library all about? The mobile library is it's a collection of books that I take from my home library in Yaoundé, and I take to this community every Monday. I do that every Monday. I started off with 28 books that I took from my home library to the school, and then I hand over this library to a student, and the student will be in charge of it. And the student has a book where he will be recording names of other students who come and take books to read at home, or teachers who come and take books for their research. So we started off with 28 books in 2019, and in 2023, where we are now at 107 books. So students and teachers take books to read at home and return them after a week. But they don't just return them like that. They return them with a summary of what they have understood in the book. So you have a written summary, insert in the book, and the student who is in charge of the book records the entry and the summary. So on Fridays, every Friday after classes, that is at 5 p.m., at times 6 p.m., we sit and we talk about these summaries and the different encounters the students have had while reading at home. So we discuss this, and we have other reading activities, read aloud activities during that time. So that is how this book and mobile library functions. So with the literature,
Nanane,
yes.
could I interrupt you just for 1 second here? I have your presentation showing, but you haven't told me to advance the slides at all moving forward. So I'm not sure if you have, I don't know if you wanted me to advance to different slides to show,
Yeah, yeah,
I know you have
yes,
many.
yes.
You
Actually,
need to be telling me to move forward, because I
oh,
don't know when I needed to do that.
oh, sorry about that. I actually am at the level of slide 8.
Oh, okay. So I had no idea. I was waiting for you to say move ahead in the slides. So,
Oh, sorry about that.
please let me know which slide you're on, and then just
Yes,
tell me
yes.
when to stop.
I'm saying when I see it, I will tell you to stop.
Is it this slide?
No, keep going.
Okay, so the next slide.
Yeah, the next slide.
Okay, all right, thank you. Just let me know to advance forward.
Okay, thank you. So now we talked about the mobile library, and now we are talking about the literature cafes, which is one of the activities we organize in the school to get students involved and to create, to increase self-esteem, create positive emotions, and reduce social isolation, and also the sense of belonging and identity in a school. So we introduced the literature cafes. So what is a literature cafe? The way we look at it, for us, a literature cafe is a kind of feedback on reading activities. We have reading activities every week, and after a period of 6 months, students come and give feedback on what they have read so far. And the feedback done at times in the form of debates, in the form of literary analysis, in the form of critics. Students must have read books, and maybe there are some things that they do not like about the book, or things they like about the book, and they would like to give some criticism from what they have learned in class. So they put in practice what they have learned in class in this social aspect. So students give detailed analysis of books read within a period, and get feedback from teachers other than their classroom teachers. So most often during this literature cafe, students invite teachers from other schools, not just their own schools. So teachers that are there are not necessarily their teachers, but teachers from other schools and other disciplines. So they come to listen to them. They come to guide their thoughts as they go through this activity. So it gives them an upper hand. It gives them an upper hand because they are the ones doing the talking, and the teachers listen to them. And at times, many of these teachers have never read the books in question, and they are informed by the students for the first time. So the students feel important in such an activity, and they feel like they have something to contribute. Also, they feel like being in the position of a teacher, because all their lives they only find themselves in the position of listening. They listen to a teacher teach, they sit and they copy, they take down notes, and they don't have that opportunity to talk, so that the teacher can also sit and listen to them. So during this literature cafe, it's an opportunity for them to take that upper hand and also contribute what they know through these literary activities. So The literature cafe is quite interactive and relaxed, lively, and inclusive because everyone is involved. Not only students of a particular class, no, they involve students from other levels, from different levels. You may be of grade 1, you're involved in the literature cafe. You may be a high school student, you're involved in this literature cafe. So if you find the classroom filled with students from different levels, different specialties. So you have science students, art students, all in one class talking about a book, what they have learned in a book. So it's quite interesting, and they feel motivated doing that. And why they do that, there are other students with other skills like dancing, playback, sketches, comedy that come to do these shows for the atmosphere to be relaxed, so that it shouldn't be all about intellectual work, but it should be playful. So this is organized twice a year. Like I said, after 6 months, we do organize that, or 4 months, we do organize a feedback, which is a literature cafe. So we do that twice in the middle of the school year and at the end of the school year, so that the students do the last and then they go on holidays. So, but there are times that we do just once a year when the activities in the school do not permit us to have our literature cafe twice a year. So from 2019 to 2023, we've had 8 literature cafes so far. And it is worth noting that these literature cafes are highly sponsored. They are sponsored by La Scène Littéraire, which is a library. It is a literature association, a library owned by one Cameroonian, Flor Ndazwa. She owns it, and she is engaged in promoting books to Africa, to schools in Africa. So due to our activities, she is highly motivated, and she sponsors us each year with books and helps us in carrying out the literature cafe, which is sponsored completely. So it's something that we are grateful of, and we want to thank her for trusting us with these activities. So Lloyd, the next slide. So our third activity in the book club is the book outreach activities. So in our small community, in our school, we notice this problem of lack of books, which is one of the causes of school dropouts, one of the causes of lack of enthusiasm to learn, and also lack of a reading space, which is also another cause for students, low self-esteem, students, negative emotional emotions, and also lack of creativity. So with the book club activities, we are struggling to reach out to other people and other communities other than our little community. So we started this book outreach. So the first thing we did with the book outreach is to create a space, first of all, for the club members to have a space. If you saw in the second slide, Lloyd, please, can you take us back to the second slide? Let us see how we used to organize our reading activities due to lack of a space. Is it possible to do that?
So going back in your presentation to the second slide.
Yeah, is it possible? If it is not, we'll continue.
I'm trying to see if it is possible.
It's just to have a view of how these reading activities are done due to lack of a reading space.
It seems doesn't really like going backwards.
Okay, it's okay. Just come back where we were. It's okay. I think I'll just explain that. And if possible, we'll share the slides later on. So actually, where we used to
Yes,
have
we can share the slides.
yes, where we used to have our reading activities under the tree, because we didn't have a space for students to read, and most often when a teacher is not in class and students do not have a space where they can find refuge in or where they can read, they begin to loiter around. And with a school like ours that do not have a fence, so you find any type of person entering the school. So you find at times you sit in a classroom and a madman will knock at your door. It's quite embarrassing, it's quite irritating. So many students are not safe in such an environment. So when we started this club activities in an open space, or hosting our reading activities under the tree, it was at times dangerous for the students because many of them, they were not safe with the kind of people that were entering the school, entering and leaving the school. So last year we had to plead with the principal who helped us by giving us an abandoned classroom that we adapted to a mobile, to a library, and a space where students can read and can sit and read when there is no teacher in their classroom, or when they are not doing anything in the classroom. So with this space, it helps us to reach out to a good number of students with books, because we also, due to our other activities, we have our sponsors, those who help us with books that we put in this library, and students come in. Those who do not have the opportunity to buy books, those who do not have the opportunity to have books, they come there, take books, read, do their assignments, and they go home, which is quite interesting. And it is very helpful for the students. So with the book outreach activities, we also created a book club in the prison in Bafia, which is a community where I teach. There is a Bafia main prison. We created a book club there. So how did we come about creating a book club in prison? As we were talking about reaching out, one of the students of the book club told me a story about her brother who was in prison at a very young age, and because of the fact that there are no schools, nobody goes to the prison to help the prisoners to read or write. The brother could not read and write and could not finish his studies. So when this tribe brought up this idea, we took the initiative to start a book club in prison. But now, how were we supposed to go about this book club in prison, given the fact that we do not have enough books at our own level in the school? So we reached out to our partner, La Seine Littéraire, who loved the activity, and she has been sponsoring it for the 2 years that we started this program. So she has been the one behind helping us with books. Last year, she gave us 60 books, and this year she gave 40 books for the prisoners. So we take these books to the prison and help the prisoners to read and write, and then we organize the literature cafe in the prison. So we also helped in creating another book club in a school in another far off rural community called the Government Bilingual High School, Malmayo. We helped there to create another book club in that school, and the students there have been very happy with such an initiative, because they did not have a book club activity and did not have a library in their school. So this activity has helped them to be able to reach out, to get into contact with many books. So we also train students, our club members, we train them on developing their reading skills, and they in turn become mentors to the younger students. So they also train the younger students on how to read and how to develop their reading skills. So this is what we do at the level of the book outreach activities. Next slide. Okay, so why do we do this? It's true, we started by stating the problem, but now the question is why? Why do we do this? So the first thing that comes to mind is to make learning meaningful. You know, if students don't find meaning in what they do, I bet you they will be bored. They will not like to wake up every morning to go to school because they don't see the need. They don't see why they should be there. They don't see why they should go to school. They feel like they just go somewhere where someone keeps breathing to them and someone keeps talking, and all they have to do is just to take down notes and maybe eat with the money the parents give them, and later on come back home in the evening tired, just fall asleep, and that is all. So they do that, it becomes monotonous. So we want to make learning meaningful. We want to create an environment where students find meaning in what they do, and they see their contribution in the advancement of the teaching and learning process. We equally want to improve their mental and physical well-being, because in a school like us, where students are always afraid because people come in and out of the school, you don't know who is who in the school. You sit in a classroom, at times you find a child with a tray of puff, with a tray of something they are selling, an object they are selling, knocking at your door to ask you if you want to buy. So it's irritating. So want an environment where students have an improved mental and physical well-being, where they should be positive, they should think positively, and also realize that there is a problem in their community and be able to solve that problem. So we also want to enhance students' mindfulness. We want to boost their empathy, so that they should also feel for others and know how to help. Like what happened with one of the club members, who through the activities understood the need for the brother to be learned, and talked about lack of opportunities to read and write in prisons. So you see, it is already the feeling for another is developed, and through that testimony, we're able to connect to a prison, and we are carrying out activities in the prison. So that is what we want to develop in the children, so that they should know how to feel for the others and how to come in to fill the gap. We want to enhance their critical thinking. We want them to think critically and see how they can solve immediate problems of their community using little means or affordable means they have. We also want them to be active learners and not passive learners. So we want them to actively participate in the learning process, not passively, because if they participate passively, they will drop out of school, and they will go through school and school will never go through them. So we want them to be active learners. We want to enhance their social and emotional competencies. So this explains why we are doing what we are doing at our own little grassroots level. Next slide, please. So through all of this, who are our partners? So like I said a while ago, we have La Scène Littéraire. La Scène Littéraire has a library here in Yaoundé called La Bibliolibrairie de la Scène Littéraire, and they are actively promoting reading activities in Africa, in different regions in Africa. You have Togo, you have Rwanda, you have Senegal. There are different Chad, different regions in Africa. La Scène Littéraire is promoting reading activities by giving books for free to schools, to different reading communities, so that the children there can learn how to read and write. So they are also helping in their own way to reach out to local communities through the best way they can do, which is through books. And they create a local library in each of the countries, so that we can easily connect with them and have help with our own reading activities in our own communities. So it is, and they have been sponsoring our literature cafes, both in school and in the prison, and have supported our book club with about 100 books so far. So we also have civil society organizations like the Yali West African Leadership Center, Accra, Ghana, that had the opportunity to come to my school last year after they have heard a lot about the activities we've been doing in the school. And they came to the school to see for themselves what we've been doing, and they were very impressed. So they donated about 60 books to the school for the library that we started off last year. They were the first, I want to underline that they were the first to donate books to that library. They did donate books to support our library project, and the students were very happy with such because the majority of the books were students' books, children's books, and also books on leadership. So it helps the student to understand the need for them to grow intellectually with their studies. The next slide, please. So we've been doing this for a number of years now. What's the outcome? We have these three domains. We have teachers, parents, and other community stakeholders who have testified that the students who belong to our reading club, our book club, have had a transformative mindset. They don't think like any normal student. They always think ahead. They always look for ways they could be helpful to the society. So they have had a transformative mindset, and they don't see a school like being a prison anymore. They don't look at a school like being a space where they just come there to be passive learners, but they are more of active. They are active learners. So many of the students now are very active, and they are problem solvers because they keep looking for ways they can help their society by solving the problems of their society. And this is actually what we want to do. We want younger people in our community who are able to think creatively, who are able to be problem solvers, who are able to be active in their community, to participate actively in their community, and not just passively, to be able to question and happenings in their community, and to have answers that will guide their actions. So this is what we want, and we are happy that teachers have testified that many of our club members, those who come for the club activities, have had this transformative mindset, and that they have improved even their competencies in class. The way they respond to questions in classrooms has increased, and even their results can show for themselves that they are better off with this atmosphere where they feel like they belong, with this atmosphere where they can actively participate without any bias, without any judgment. Because in the club, there is no teacher, because even myself, I'm a member in the club. I'm not a teacher. And I come there is a president in the club, there is a secretary, and I sit there as a member. And when they talk, I have to listen to what they say, and I obey what they do, because I want to give them that upper hand to be able to be good managers, to manage without me, without being always relying on someone to help them out, because I believe that they can, if they give themselves that opportunity to act. The next slide, please. So what is that take-home message? The take-home message here is develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow. So this is a take-home message from Anthony D'Angelo that I would love us to master. That it is important for us to develop a passion for learning, and if we do develop this passion for learning, we will never cease to grow. So no matter the degree we have, no matter what we've accomplished so far, it is always important to develop that passion for learning. We should learn new things and in order to grow. So next slide, please. And so we've come to the end of my presentation. I would like to tell you Sume Bwambwam, which is my native language, which means thank you. It means merci beaucoup. So thank you. Thank you all for having me this afternoon. I'm grateful. Thank you, Lloyd.
Thank you, Nanane. So I'm very grateful to your presentation today. I'm going to stop the share at this point and allow anybody else to come on and ask additional questions if they so wish to do so. We have two other people on the call with us right now, Doris Kamagara and Amen Ala Azun, who are both with us today. And I'm hoping that we can have a short conversation, at least for maybe the next 5 or 10 minutes. And any questions or comments. I'd also like to ask if the other two people on our call, Doris and Amen, could also put their contact information into our chat window so we have a record of your participation. And if you do have any questions today for Nanane, be good if you can introduce yourself as well. Perhaps we can start with Doris. If she could just say a few words about where she is from and what she's doing herself. Hello, Doris. I see that you unmuted. Very briefly. Perhaps Amen Azun.
Hello.
Hello. So where are you coming to us today, Amen?
I'm from Tunisia.
Okay. And where did you hear about or see about this?
Well, after I joined the eco-anxiety.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to introduce myself.
We have a little bit of a delay here. Well, seems that we have some delay and we also have lost Doris.
Well, as I was saying, I joined the eco-anxiety Zoom meeting last Sunday, and a friend then told me about this meeting and about schools and indigenous people, so I took part in it.
And are you yourself a teacher, or what are you doing in Tunisia?
Well, I'm a student. I'm a student in high
you
school.
Are, okay. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So Doris seems to be coming back on with us as well. I'd like to ask if you can put your contact information into the chat if you haven't done so already. Then we can have a follow-up. I'd very much like to continue to expand our network. We actually don't have any network members in Tunisia at all at this time. So it would be good to be able to continue our conversations and, with regard to what UnityNet is doing. And perhaps for your own sake, I can continue on. Once Doris has introduced herself, I can probably spend maybe another 10 or 20 minutes, continuing with my own introductory presentation. Doris, did you want to try again? Oops. Okay, so it seems Doris is having trouble with the connection, which seems to be very common. We've had in the past people who have come in and not been able to do their presentations even because of the poor internet connections. So thank you again, Nanane. What I will do is I'm going to, as I noted earlier, start my own presentation again, the one I had up earlier, with the introduction to UnityNet. I will share my screen one more time and continue just through a few more slides at least to give back to this presentation. So this actually is the original slide that we used to use as our opening slide. This is where I explained who we are, what we do. So this graphic was taken from our original IGU Summit weekly event series. We have been doing this every Thursday since June 10th, 2021. So it has now been more than 1 year, or more than 2 years, I should say. So this began during our second Sunlight Spectacle Journey of the Eclipse event, celebrating local events by the citizens of every country to what we call locally implement the Sustainable Development Goals, or those global goals, with the overall purpose of UnityNet to establish a global network of interfaith, neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives. We call them INAB collaboratives, to empower our global partnership for regenerative development members, our female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs, who will be tasked with establishing this global network of community unity garden learning centers, where hybrid exchange programs and practicum learning will be delivered by the members of UnityNet's partners to all of the members of this global partnership, our learning partnership for global unity. So learning programs are intended to be delivered through the Global Sister Schools program in partnership with the members of the Global Unity Network. So what we do basically is we twin the local INAB collaborative communities through what we call the CTP program of the Science for Peace Drawdown Markham Community Climate Action Hubs, which have a goal of building holistic, regenerative, climate smart communities, both in Canada, where I'm originally from, and here in Asia, where I am now, as well as in Africa. Originally starting in the Greater Toronto bioregion, Greater Toronto area, in support of the UnityNet and AHIABGA project of globalization of the global goals, the SDGs, and the establishment of what we call a responsible, localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So you can see when I'm putting into the chat is actually a little bit of our historical event that began this journey for us. There's also the original Unity Gardens Network, and I mentioned before the Global Partnership for Regenerative Development. And there's also our Global Sister Schools program, where we're trying to connect schools around the world digitally and have communities interact. I think as has been explained, bringing tools and different people together. So I wanted to mention as well, through UnityNet, the Global Unity Network, we are helping local people, all people from every country around the world, to structure their own local community and enterprise networks so they're prepared for these critical investments in climate change adaptation and resilience solutions that are coming from all around the world, that are vital to our very survival, and may even allow people in places like Africa to thrive in a much warmer and more extreme climate. But without creating these community-based structures, these multi-stakeholder partnerships with all of the community members as per this HEPTA matrix partnership template that we had created in Drawdown Markham as transparent, nonprofit, cooperative management entities, the global investors will not wish to consider to invest in places like Africa if they expect that there may be even a little bit of remaining corruption. So this is a private sector initiative. We know that most high-end investors would much rather put their money into the so-called developed economies, places like America or Europe or Japan or Australia, because the general feeling in most cases is that the developed world is a much safer place to invest into these kinds of solutions that are needed. However, UnityNet is trying to change that perception by showing that it is possible to invest into places like Africa and avoid the corruption, avoid having to use the Bretton Woods system of top-down financing from the World Bank and others, and to make secure direct investments into the people and the solutions and still make an impact and still make a profit. So our mission is also all about helping to create radical shift in our collective priorities in order to try to change the trajectory that we're currently on, to try to nudge the system in the right direction and create some tipping points in our collective consciousness of humanity itself, because it might just be the only way we can survive what is coming, basically global warming, along with peak energy and ecosystem collapse, and all of the effects of the Anthropocene all at once. So you can see in the chat, there are some other nodes of our network, such as the Regenerative Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network. And I'm putting in a little bit of information about the so-called Anthropocene, just described in a National Geographic article. There's also a little bit more from the WE forum about that concept. But the scenarios that are being outlined by many around the world for what may be our future, the collapse of the economies that we may be experiencing as a result of all of these threats, are what we are actually trying to avoid here, and the loss of life that may result. So I think I will probably finish out just by describing on this page who I am. So my name is Lloyd Halferty, a co-founder of UnityNet International. We are also known as Uni, a hybrid holistic practicum learning system management company based in Canada, also assisting with community partnership building locally and globally, or as we like to say, glocally, by leveraging our set of community engagement activities developed in partnership with the members of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors. I'm also the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and a Sustainable Society Consultant for Energy Institute, headquartered in Manhattan, and located, however, normally in the city of Markham in the Don River watershed. German Wills Creek is the sub-watershed I'm in. That drains into Lake Ontario, the lowest and last of the North American Great Lakes in the Great Lakes Basin of the Greater Tikotonto bioregion in Southern Ontario, Canada, North America, which also known as Turtle Island. Energy Institute is a private 501(c) nonprofit company in New York, a member of the UN Global Compact, a UN academic impact member and partner. We started out as a virtual university that was created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance with their local environments. We do this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong and diversified local economy, while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into these communities in the areas of renewable energy, high-density food growth solutions, and systems for sustainably managing local waste streams and protecting local water resources. We are supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies we employ. Importantly, Energy Institute supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of all the various integrated solutions for achieving closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. So again, you'll see my own contact information in the chat. Please feel free to connect with me. The best place to find me is usually on WhatsApp. You'll also find in the chat some information about the methodology for education and training at the Energy Institute. Again, that's located in Manhattan. I just want to go into the next slide here quickly. I'm going to try to end within probably about the next 15 minutes. So our organization, UnityNet International, related to the work I do here in the Greater Toronto area of Canada. Normally, I am in Taiwan right now, but we help people and organizations in all our local communities establish these local empowerment networks, these localized multi-stakeholder coalitions and networks that help to attract ESG-based funding for local productive humanitarian entrepreneurs. So we'd like to build an international network of researchers and developers and educators for the globalization of the global goals, with the priority actions focused on regenerative development or regenerative living and lifestyles, which includes regenerative infrastructure and regenerative finance. So for us in UnityNet Canada and UnityNet Ontario, both in the Greater Toronto area and the Ottawa Valley, with the city of Ottawa being the capital of Canada and our place where national decisions are made. These are important hubs of activity for us, especially around the delivery of the local solutions for achieving both sustainable energy for all, regenerative housing and shelter, and habitat for all, and regenerative food and water for all through these global partnership ecosystems, thus helping to demonstrate and achieve holistic, healthy communities for all. So again, in the chat, you'll find that information about UnityNet International. You'll also find information about our action program for financing through the Global Partnership REFI network, and opportunities for those and contribute to the goals that we're trying to achieve through our regenerative financing network. With the goal being to get all financial institutions and organizations, including ethical and cooperative banking, credit unions, digital trust-based financial service providers, and provide them with opportunities to invest into these solutions, especially in the most marginalized communities. So our area of focus, or areas of focus, again, renewable energy, but with the biggest focus on sustainable agriculture and regenerative farming and food production, grown what we call the climate smart way, along with regenerative water management and waste management, which are commonly called circular economy solutions. So UnityNet helps to establish the partnerships and the channels that facilitate the establishment of the hybrid learning infrastructure for the purpose of economic growth and expansion, but specifically done, we call the regenerative climate smart way, using regenerative infrastructure solutions that will ultimately be designed, built, run, operated, maintained, and repaired by the skilled local humanitarian entrepreneurs in all of these local communities worldwide, because we intend to train them on how to do so. So you'll find again the related networks, such as our energy network, the plant-based climate smart food network for those who wish to become growers of the climate smart food solutions. There's also a UnityNet water and UnityNet food lots and waste group you'll find in the chat. So we do also, along with supporting integrated localized habitat solutions for regenerative holistic living, learning, and lifestyle developments or redevelopments, help to achieving a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind, as I noted, because within such development paradigms, we believe it should be possible to continue to achieve economic growth at the same time as we repair our planet, as we continue along this pathway of figuring out how to create a robust and resilient and equitable economic system that doesn't require continuous and expanding extraction and degradation of ecosystems to survive, and to be both stable and sustainable, and also seek ways to leave no one behind. So our main question to those whom we partner with is, how can we help you to succeed in your regenerative business, especially as the entire economy moves toward this responsible, relocalized or localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, and regenerative economy that is seeking to leave no one behind in all of our local communities. So there's one more group I think that is very important for those who wish to join us is the UnityNet CSAF Centers Network. CSAF meaning the Climate Smart Agriculture and Food Training Centers. So this is the overall essence of our INAB collaboratives. What we do in UnityNet, and this started through our own Drawdown Markham Youth Task Force, which is now done through the work of UnityNet International and our partners in UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, or UNET, is establish these localized INAB collaboratives, the interfaith, neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives, intended to empower our local productive humanitarian entrepreneurs in each of our own local communities, with our overarching goal to establish a global network of these local INAB collaboratives, where the humanitarian entrepreneurs are members of these INAB collaboratives, including the Global Partnership for Regenerative Development members, and the ones who will deliver the practical local regenerative solutions for achieving these global goals, the SDGs, locally, or as we like to say, locally. So again, in the chat, you'll find that information about original Drawdown Markham and now the Global Unity Network, Regenerative Solutions Collaborative Exchange Promotions Network. We'll also find our parallel organization, UNAD, or the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora Network. And so we actually are multiple organizations sharing a single network of networks, as we call it, a number of nodes and chapters being the different countries in our network, the geographies that we inhabit in these virtual spaces, and the nodes being the various themes that we have discussions around. So the INAB collaboratives are established at the local level, where we leverage our unique process of community engagement. So the purpose of the INAB collaboratives is not only to empower the local humanitarian entrepreneurs, but also to help organize the ongoing community engagement, as well as helping to create the local structures that will help our partners deliver the education and training in the global solutions that are required for local people to understand how to create and run things locally in their own local communities in order to become more resilient, more self-sufficient, and decolonize, to better adapt to climate change, to boost their local economies, to ensure equity, harmony, and peace, and also to ensure that nobody is being left behind in their own local communities, watersheds, and bioregions. So the symbolic tools that we use to help create peace in local communities are the trees of peace and reconciliation, the tree planting ceremonies by all the leaders in the local community, the peace poles we plant at every school, in every classroom, and in every town square, the Indigenous unity flags, which in some cases where recognition across tribes exists by all parties, and the youth peace gardens that can potentially contain all of these symbols of peace, reconciliation, and forgiveness. We also have bubble fun festivals with music and beats and dancing and arts and sports, and the Tea Diplomacy Initiative, which connects local farmers, growers, and entrepreneurs across geographies and among members of communities that may not otherwise ever get a chance to talk to each other and get to know each other as people. With the idea being to sit down, have tea, relax, and discuss local solutions to global problems like food security, hunger, climate change, the environment, peace, security, and the well-being of people in each of our own local communities, and what teas they grow locally and regionally. Yet another possible peacemaking tool in our tool chest are the UnityNet Unity Dream Boards, where the UnityNet Dream Boards team and the related campaigns and training help to mobilize the youth and provide them with the necessary skills to help turn their dreams into reality. So using those tools or not, the tools will be there. We are developing the tools. Nobody will be forcing anybody to do anything with them, but it will be up to local people in each local community, and not outsiders will be the ones who will need to come to the decision to use these tools. We are the members of Global Unity Network, and we can guide community members to move forward more quickly, but things can only move forward if the local people in these local communities actively choose to listen and make an effort to understand how to use these tools and help end the conflicts and end any decades-old or intergenerational fighting, finally find peace in their local communities with their local peoples, one local community at a time, as an essential part of our UnityNet and ad hoc International Advisory Board process of globalization of the global goals. I just will put in a few more things into the chat here. I'm seeing it's about 5 minutes until 1 o'clock my local time. I think I will, at this point, finish my own presentation during this week 107 of the IGU Summit event. If there are still people on with us, we'd like to say a few last words or any last questions before we finish our presentation today. I will open up the mic for those who may wish to have some final word. So thank you all for coming on with us today. Again, if you are with us and wish to save the chat, you can go to the bottom of your Zoom window and there are 3 little dots at the bottom. You can click those dots and press Save Chat. If you wish to save the links that I have shared today, that will allow you to connect with our network. So again, Lloyd Halferty, I am with UnityNet International. We are building the global Unity Network on social media right now. We do intend eventually to move all of our social media onto something we call the Interchange for Peace Virtual Collaborative Network, where it will be much easier for our members to collaborate globally and also tap into all of these tools such as the financing. So thank you all again, and I hope to be able to see you again in the future, whether it's here on the Indigenous Global Unity Summit event that we do every Thursday, or perhaps on our WhatsApp groups or any of the other social media that we use, which is primarily Facebook and LinkedIn. So thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
That was amazing. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I
Bye-bye.
hope to have a follow-up conversation with you as well. Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.